In my last video, I showed you how I set up my top of funnel Facebook campaign. Now we're gonna jump over and create a second campaign in Facebook, which is our middle of funnel retargeting campaign. I'm gonna show you exactly how I set it up, but just keep in mind that this is gonna change a lot over time as I run tests and optimize the campaign. But I'll also make sure to create videos for that so you can see how this campaign changes from its initial phase to hopefully a version that's getting us a really good cost per lead. So here's my initial middle of funnel retargeting campaign. I'll jump in and show you guys the exact settings that I used. So MOFU just stands for middle of funnel. I write retargeting because I'm retargeting people, not looking for new people. So these are people who've already engaged with my ads or visited my website, or they know me in some kind of way. And then I always like to write the objective in the campaign name here. So obviously you have to enable special ad category for housing. I had campaign budget optimization on, which means if you have multiple ad sets in there, Facebook is going to distribute the budget to the ad sets that are performing the best. I initially had this at $2, but I changed this to $1. You'll see why in another video. And then if you go into the ad set itself, I created two. I tested the videos and I tested images. And you can see for the ad set name, again, images, middle of funnel, retargeting. I did put the area here. I broadened it to all of Connecticut, and the reason for that is people who've already engaged with me in some kind of way. So as long as they've lived in Connecticut or recently been here, I'm okay retargeting them. The page that I'm running it from, the platform, so it's both on Instagram and Facebook, newsfeed and stories, and I write that it's a dynamic creative ad. And I have this long name just because it makes it very easy for me to know what's in each ad set, and I can search easily in Facebook for that later. So you can see dynamic creative I have on for this ad set, and here's the audiences that I'm using. So anyone who visited my website in the last 90 days, anyone who engaged with me on Instagram, so visited my page, clicked my ad, anything along those lines, anyone who engaged with me on Facebook, and anyone who watched at least 10 seconds of a video in the top of funnel marketing campaign. I'm also excluding a bunch of people from this. So those are anyone who submitted their address on our website. I don't need to serve them ads to get them to submit their address if they've already done that. If they've called, texted, or emailed us. If they've submitted their contact info, which is the second step form on our website. Any offline leads that I already have in the Investor Assistant CRM, and anyone who has submitted a lead form already. And you can see I have changes here from just living in to living in or recently in, because these are people, again, who've already engaged. Maybe it's possible that they own a property in Connecticut but don't live there. I did manual placements here. You can see in this one, on like the top of funnel, I did add Instagram. And the reason is, again, these are people who've already engaged, right? So I'm not as worried about this going out to people who don't fit within the potential demographic. So I opened it up a little bit. You can see here's all the placements that I selected on Facebook and Instagram. So I chose a lot of different placements here. And then if I dive in, it's optimized for leads because it's a lead generation objective, which is a lead generation objective is the form that people fill out on Facebook without leaving Facebook. So they don't go to your website. And then you can see right here I wrote images for the ad campaign because we're using an image ad, and I put single, which means we're just not using those carousel images. And you can see I used dynamic creative, which I mentioned in my last video, but allows me to upload 10 different photos, a bunch of different headlines, a bunch of different potential buttons. So I've got lots of different versions here. The idea is that Facebook will pick the best one for an individual person to convert. It also allows me to later break these down, see which ones converted well versus which images maybe didn't, or which headlines converted well, so I can mix and match once I have enough data to hopefully pick the best one. It's not as good as an A/B test, but it can get us definitely part of the way there, and then run some A/B tests later on, and at least have an idea which maybe the top few are. So you can see I set up here. I set up a lead form. The Facebook pixel is set up. Obviously, I have my URL parameters set up. And then you can see I also set up a different ad set for video. For this one, I didn't use dynamic creative, and the reason for that is actually the copy that I wrote for each individual ad. Everything in the ad set with the targeting and all that's the same. But in the individual ad, I actually customized the copy to match the video. So I didn't want to use dynamic creative because then maybe the copy may not match what I'm talking about in the video. So I wanted to give that a try and see how that worked. You can see I created a bunch of different ads underneath here. So that's the summary of how I set up my middle of funnel campaign. I'll create another video later on how exactly I set up my Facebook lead form, what questions I'm asking. Keep in mind, again, all this is going to change. This is just my initial campaign. There's a ton of testing that has to happen. At least it gives you an understanding of how I target or how my idea of my overall funnel is and how I plan to target people middle of funnel versus top of funnel.